Welcome to Wednesday Wisdoms. My name is Sera Doğramacı. I am the Ice Hockey Australia Goaltending Development Manager, and today I have Perry Wilson with me, who is a goalie consultant for the Windsor Spitfires in the OHL, which is basically a feeder into the NHL. And he has previously worked with teams within Hockey Canada, with the national teams, and done all sorts of wonderful things. So, Perry, welcome.
Thank you, Sarah. It's so much of an honor to be on this call today. I'm thrilled for what we're going to talk about.
Oh, I'm so excited that we could get you in for this. I would like to start with just your hockey background. So playing history, how you got into goaltending, why you became a goalie, just a little bit of that growing up.
Well, that story is probably a really interesting one. As I was born in Nova Scotia, which is on the east coast of Canada, and I played a little bit when I was a kid. And then when I moved to Ontario, my parents didn't have a clue, so I never played again until I was in my late teens, early 20s when I could buy my own gear. I never lost the bug for hockey. My parents just didn't know how to get me in. So then I started to play again in my 20s, and I still play today. The passion to play the position has never gone away. So I've been, it was unfortunate I couldn't grow up in the junior ranks and stuff like that, but I was fortunate enough to play against a lot of guys that did play, and I felt that I belonged, and it wasn't that big of a deal. So
Yeah.
playing wise, you never got the big accolades to play, but the passion was there.
Yeah, I don't think the passion ever dies. Once you're in, you're hooked for life, right?
That's right, exactly.
So from that, then lots of coaching that you've done in the past, right? Can you touch on a little bit about what you've done, where it's taking you around the world, different experiences, things like that?
Absolutely. My coaching career started in 1996. Actually, I was working for uh, the University of Windsor, and the head coach asked me, she knew I was a goaltender, and asked me to help with the women's program. So I was lucky enough, my very first goalie and my first goalie coaching job ended up being a CIS goalie of the year on a
Wow.
very average team. So I've been very blessed and lucky to have goalies that are they just get it. And Sarah, goalie coaching is all about building relationships, and that's where I'm going to call it a bit of a gift to be able to share not only the playing part, but the openness to be able to allow goalies to develop their game, not my game, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. I think actually there was something that I was talking to someone about recently that with goalie coaching, you're looking for the personality more so than the actual technical knowledge, because everyone can have all the technical knowledge in the world, but it's who is the person that you want to be the coach, basically.
Yeah, and it's all about trust. The goalie has to trust that you're doing the right things for their career, every one of them. So there's so much involved in that, and that's the beauty of being able to have said I've coached for this long and have had quite a bit of success. It's like I went right from there to in 2009 going to the first ever goalie coaches conference in Calgary for Hockey Canada, and the very next year I had a team. So my first team was the under 22s. That's a development team, and I won 2 gold medals with that team back-to-back years. Then in 2012, I was lucky enough to get not only the U18 team, but I also had the senior women's team. And the exciting part for me about 2012, it was the last time Canada's won a senior women's world championship.
Ah.
So that's quite a drought, and I'm not going to say I had anything to do with it, but it was nice to be a part of.
Yeah, absolutely. Are you allowed to name drop some of the goalies that you have coached within the national teams? Are you allowed to mention any of them?
Oh, I would think so. Shannon Zavados, Charlene Labonte, just missed Kim St. Pierre, but I did get a chance to work with her after. So Genevieve Lacasse won a world title with her. Emirates Mashmeyer, she at that time was the U18 goalie that we beat the US 3-0, and she was unbelievable in that game in the Czech Republic. And
It's
with
amazing.
Cannon winning that game in Burlington, Vermont, uh, 5-4 of the U.S. on U.S. soil. It was amazing. One of my
That's
most amazing experiences for sure.
that's amazing. Like just the caliber of those names that you just mentioned. It's just I mean role models for us here.
Oh, absolutely. And here as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so then outside of Canada, where have you gone? What have you done?
Wow, that's another big one. It started in New Zealand. The president of the New Zealand Ice Federation asked for help from Hockey Canada. So they wanted the goalie coach that did the Olympics in Sochi, but he had two little kids. So I was kind of next in line, and they asked me if I'd go, and I was like, "What do you mean? They had hockey in New Zealand?" So I went down, of course, and from there, the very next year, I started working with their national team. So that's what helped bring me to Australia, and went to South Africa, Iceland, China. It's been all around the
Everywhere.
world. It's been great.
That's pretty
Absolutely.
amazing. And I know you were with the New Zealand teams for quite a while, right? And I know you weren't here like year round. It was just you come around for a few months for the tournaments, right?
Yeah, I actually would leave Canada in January, and I'd stay there till May. So I
Oh
would be
wow.
there, run camps all around the island, both islands, and then whatever tournaments that they felt they could use my help, I would go and work with those teams. So typically it was the senior men's, senior women's, and under 20 men's, and I did once with the U18 men's.
So
We
then
won
with
gold
the
all
sorry
of
to
them.
interrupt with that. So you traveled with the teams to the tournaments as well?
Yes, I did. Yeah.
Excellent. So were you there just as a goalie coach, or were there other roles that you were doing there as well? Were you more assistant coaching or?
No, just goalie coaching, because if I wasn't coaching the team, I was going around the islands running goalie camps. So it was amazing. The first camp I did there, we had like three goalies. And by the end, we had 22 goalies, which is almost
Wow,
every goalie in that country, right? So
that's
it's been,
amazing.
yeah, it's been great. But, one of my biggest thrills was coming to work with the Australian goalies. That was a great weekend, and we had a lot of fun. So,
Yeah, well, so let's backpedal a little bit. So the IIHF camp in Viramaki, how
mhm.
did that opportunity came about? Because that is sort of what started things in Australia for us here. So can we go back a step and talk about the IIHF camp? How did that opportunity come about for you?
Yeah, for me, there were so many coaches that again applied to go to Varamaki, and because I had the U18 team the year before, I got the call to go to that camp, and it was amazing to be able to see coaches like yourself just trying to learn and get better, and to be kind of a mentor in that camp. It was a thrill for me as well.
What were because you only went the 1 year, right?
That's correct.
Yes. What was a highlight for you from that camp? I know it was a very full-on week and it was so enjoyable and I would love to go back and do it again. What was a highlight for you?
The highlight for me was watching all of you coaches take a step. That was so important for us that you guys took a step, and it helped us take a step as well. So being able to share knowledge with everyone and just grow together was so important to us.
Beautiful. So then from that, we obviously that kickstarted our goalie coach and goalie development program here in Australia, and we were fortunate enough to bring you over, which was fantastic. So, experiences in Australia. What did you notice from our group, from the goalies we had on the ice? Maybe what are some of the things that we could or perhaps should be doing better with what we've got with our landscape here?
Yeah. Well, always the tough part is getting the goalies on the ice and getting kind of a collective attitude on how you're going to train the goalies. And that was the one thing that I thought you did a really, really good job of doing. I would say now, especially with COVID, kind of opened our eyes to the power of doing video in a Zoom call. And the key is getting them to understand that habits, no matter what style you play, the
Mhm.
habits of getting in front of the puck, looking at the puck first before you move, little things like that are something that you can see in video, and then show the goaltender why there's delays in their game and how being in position is so critical. Because even here, I've asked probably 100 goalies what the number one thing is in goaltending, and I get a variety of answers like skating, being able to slide around the ice really well. Well, the number one thing is position. And if you can't get in position, it doesn't matter how agile, how talented, any of those things don't matter unless you're in position. So
Mm.
getting to understand positioning through video definitely was probably one of the biggest things I could see would make a difference in your program, like you would see it today.
Yeah, I remember something that you focused on it and you still do, and I've adopted that is the focus on the habits to get the good habits. So I guess right now because you're not back on the ice yet, your rinks aren't open yet, are they?
That's correct. We're not open.
So is there a way that goalies at home can keep working on those good habits, just either on their own or in a small group if that's allowed over there, or even here our restrictions have eased up a little bit for the majority, but not everyone is back on the ice yet. So how can we keep working on those good habits?
So a lot of them, we do some off-ice fitness drills,
Okay.
and you can find them just about anywhere. Like Maria Mountain, I'm sure we talked about her quite a bit. She has a ton of off-ice drills that actually translate to the game very well. The one thing I would add to those drills is make sure you're looking before you go. A
Absolutely.
lot of the habits that I see, typically the goalies would move arms, stick, shoulders first, and it's like if you really want to be elite and get rid of the delay, it's always look before you go. And it sounds really trivial, but I could show you in video uh, the difference between the body moving first and the head moving first. It's dramatic. The
Absolutely.
delay, right? So little
There's
things like that.
there's something I like to relate it to, just to, in a sense, get the message across even more, is that if you are crossing the road, if you're walking, what's the first thing you do? You're looking for the dangers and the threats. You're looking for, the safety of it. You don't just go blindly, in a sense. So it's all that comes into it and then translate to, well, on the ice, you have to look where you're going before you actually move.
100%. That's a great analogy. It's one I might steal that from you. So,
Totally
for
okay.
yeah, it's one of those things that you have to get the message that the goalie understands. It doesn't matter that we understand it, but I've had so many arguments with goalies, and they tell me I am looking, and it's like you're looking, but you're not seeing, and there's a
Yeah.
really big difference because I can see so many things in this room, but I'm not looking at them. And when I'm not looking at them, I see them, but they're fuzzy. When I'm really looking at them, it's crystal clear. And
Yeah.
that's typically when a goalie goes down, the first thing that happens, their head comes up and
Mm.
they lose sight of the puck. So we really focus on getting them to see the puck longer. And that has totally transformed our goaltenders. I
Is
have one.
there, sorry, is there a way that you can actually train that to get them to look at the puck longer? Is it specific visual skills that you work on?
There are visual skills, but there's always little drills that they could do. Even if you had a sheet of plywood shooting into a goalie that's just has their gear on it and on the grass, of waiting for the release and then shooting a puck on the right or left side of the goaltender. Typically, when the puck is shot, they go straight down.
Mhm.
So what we teach them to do, read the release of the shot, and we do. Typically, I'll take a goalie out, and even if I'm on the ice, 6 shots from the dot, right in the belly, and then you videotape it, and you can actually see, did they really see that, or did they just go down first and try to figure it out? Because that's typically what they do. First thing on the shot, down, and then I'll figure it out from there. Well, we want them to actually read the release. Where's it going? If it's a right side puck, I want everything, including my glove, to go right side. So that's when they're really seeing the puck, right? And then you back the shot up to the top of the circle. And again, if you're outside, just back it up 10 feet, 15 feet. And even if you're throwing a ball at them, really get them to track it all the way into their body. So they're actually looking into that spot with a ball or the puck or whatever you're using, exactly where it goes. And then they get this sense of calmness and focus that just takes their game to another level.
Do you see any differences in that sense between younger goalies and the more experienced elite goalies? Would you be doing that drill to anyone?
And great question. When I first learned this, which has only been in the last 3 years, one of my favorite goalies ever was Michael DiPietro, and he is one step away. He's going to Vancouver to play for the Canucks. He leaves Wednesday, and we learned this bit with him. And when I first learned, I thought, is this just for elite goalies? And it's absolutely for every goalie.
Mm.
And it will take that 7-year-old that doesn't have the bad habits and create a new habit without having to retrain the habits that they've already got. So you could use it for any age group.
Absolutely. That's fantastic. It's always easier to create good habits than reverse the bad ones, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Excellent. Okay, so these days, what are you doing? What are you coaching more so these days?
So I'm with the Windsor Spitfires is my main group. I do work with the University of Windsor men's and women's team, but with the Windsor Spitfires, we're on the ice every day. Pre-COVID, of course. We're still waiting. We don't even know if we're gonna have a season yet. So
Mm,
my life has come to a pretty much full stop. But we still communicate and we talk about if we go back, how we're gonna go back. So
okay.
the only good part about that with the goalies, that part's easy. A goalie, a couple shooters, because the numbers will be low. That's easy. It's just when you try to incorporate the power play penalty kill for the goalies to be able to make multiple reads when you only have so many players on the ice, right? That's going to be the challenge.
Yeah.
So
Well, hopefully, the pandemic eases a bit, and you guys can be back on the ice soon to keep working on those, and hopefully it's not, we're not going backwards in steps with where we were at when we left off. So, I know with us, thankfully, some of our games start up this weekend. In other states, they've already started playing games, but I know with me, the first time back on the ice a few weeks ago, it took a while to get back into it because it had been 3-4 months of not seeing a puck, basically.
exactly.
So yeah,
So
so
try to imagine what Mikey's going through right now.
yeah,
He's been on the ice twice, but he's had to drive 2 hours to London. They have some ice, so he's been able to get on a little bit, but not with a coach. So it's different, right?
yeah,
So and he's got
absolutely.
to get ready for an NHL speed in a matter of weeks.
So
So
yeah,
he's
and as you were saying before with the Zoom video calls and doing video analysis, that would absolutely be key right now, just to be able to see what they can and should be doing, what they've done in the past, what they can improve on. It would be so important right now.
Yeah. So the good part would be to, go through a video session, Sarah, so you could see what it is you're really looking for in the
Mm,
goaltender, like especially on the rush. And if you really thought about the rush, even a 3-on-2, the defense would try to push the offense to one side of the ice or the other. So
mm,
that now has changed that 3-on-2 into a 2-on-2 or a 2-on-1. So the goalie to the goaltender, you only have to focus on half the ice. So that would change the goalie's focus completely,
mm.
right? So again, like going through the video, you'd be able to see that it makes the game a lot easier for the goaltender to play. Typically on the rush, the goaltender at the blue puck at the blue line, a goaltender be way out in the white ice. Where now we only ask for just your heels on top of the blue. That's it. Because when you think about it, they're coming to you anyway. So
Yeah,
now you don't have to worry about matching speeds. You know where you're at, and it just makes the position easier to play. So
yeah,
we've really slowed the game down for the goalies at all
that's
levels.
that's really good to hear. Some things I might have to try out here. Um,
Absolutely.
something we didn't really talk about was so recently there was a goaltending symposium that you attended to. Was it
Yes.
more? Can you tell us a little bit about that? It was something that Hockey Canada put on.
Yes, Hockey Canada and the Western Hockey League, which is
Okay.
affiliate to the OHL.
Okay.
So the Western Hockey League and Hockey Canada, because that's where Hockey Canada is based in the Western Hockey League. So they took 20 coaches from around the country and we're implementing a series of uh, symposiums. This is the first one.
Okay.
Be able to certification for the goalie coaches because right now there really isn't one. And this
Mhm.
way, uh, more consistency throughout the country on what's being taught, how it's being said, that kind of thing. So I think overall it's going to make a major change for the development of hockey in Canada on the
Absolutely.
goal.
Yeah, yeah. And I think being able to unify some things like that. So rather than every individual province doing its own thing, to have it under the one Hockey Canada banner and everyone coming together to do that certification and whatnot. That's, I think, as you said, it's the consistency of it.
Yeah,
Yep.
and
Yeah.
the sharing has always been an issue in Ontario because there are probably 10,000 goalie coaches in Ontario alone.
Wow.
So yeah, you think about the numbers, and a lot of them are speaking in different languages. So if we get some unification there, it would just make things so much easier.
Well, yeah, well, for the coaches, but also obviously for the goalies and the parents as well, make it so much easier.
Yeah, because you can
Yeah.
go to one goalie and just go down the street, a goalie coach, then go down the street and get a completely different messaging. So it's really confusing to the goalies and to the parents. So we want to
Okay.
try to fix that.
Excellent. Were there any player coaches involved in that, or was it just goalie coaches?
Just goalie coaches. But what
Okay.
we did do was get an NHL assistant coach
Mhm.
to kind of talk us through what they expect from a goalie coach and
Okay.
how they can be a part of the staff as well. So that was kind of really good to hear.
Can you
We could,
elaborate on that a little bit? Are you
yeah,
share some thoughts
well,
from that?
what was really interesting is how to integrate the goalie coach into the staff, because typically we're the outsiders, correct? And now they want us to be more eyes in the sky, but still a bigger part of the staff. And when we talk about, I've had coaches say, "Well, don't give the players too much info because we want them to be able to play their game." And it's like, no, well, we're just going to give them kind of, you see this happening, this is what to look for, like where this goalie's weaknesses are, rather
Mm.
than how we score on them. These are the goals that we found typically scored on this goalie, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely. Excellent. Well, Perry, thank you so much for joining us today. Congratulations on all your achievements over the years. I'm sure there's so much more coming for you, and I've really enjoyed this call, and I genuinely hope that you guys can have your ice back. You can get back out there and do what you do best.
I hope so, Sarah. Thank you so much. This was an honor and a privilege. I know you're going to take Australian ice hockey to the next level, so just keep doing what you're doing. We're very
Thank you.
proud of you,
Oh, I appreciate that. Thank you.
right?